Okay, so now we're on the correct camera. So now I can bring people in. All right, announcements, Command V. There we go. And self-promotion, Command V. Self-promo, Command V. Okay, so now we're live on the correct camera, not just the MacBook's web camera, which is horrendous. I would never want to live stream with that thing. It's terrible. We now have the correct camera, and we have wonderful camera features such as center stage, where I can move around and it will kind of track and follow me. So a little bit like Abe's Odyssey. Yeah, we're back on. The camera's at the right angle now. I'm not looking down on it, which just looks horrendous in my eyes. You may differ, beg to differ, but yeah, for me that looked ridiculous. And you're the first one back on as well, George, so well done. I'm sure Pat will be joining us in a second. But yeah, for those of us that are rejoining, cheers for your patience. I'm just going to add a little goal as well. If we do end up going to achieve that, I should be able to spare a little bit more time, and we can paint a Terran Marine as well, which would be pretty cool. Let me know if the camera moving around constantly is annoying you. If it is, I'll put it back onto the standard sort of like wide lens. All right, let me just add this on here. So I'll paint a Terran Marine live on this session. So if you want to see that, we are open to super chats and trying to get a little bit. Yeah, this camera is just going absolutely nuts. Stop it. Live on stream. There we go. So we have a goal on there. That should be live now. Getting people to rejoin is going to be interesting. And new link attached in self-promo. Right then. So now we have our wonderful sprues. Let's see if it focuses in on those. Yeah, look at that. So that's what I'm talking about. You got to give it like that's a much better camera than the webcam, which was absolutely horrendous. And also, if I move off to the side, it will either zoom out or it'll follow me. So I mean, pretty cool camera. That's literally just an iPhone feature that I love. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, so we originally started off the stream. It had some problems when we were starting off anyway, restarted itself. And it switched the camera from the iPhone camera, which looks nice, sharp, and crispy, to the absolutely horrendous potato camera on the MacBook. But we're now live. So we are building some Terran Marines. Some Terran Marines, and we have a few examples as well. So if any of you are new to the miniature game space, or if you're new to StarCraft in general, you might be a Warhammer player for many years, we have here some incredible looking Terran Marines. And look at that, you even get like weapon effects and, you know, all these clear plastic parts. Now, some of the advice that I want to share is some cool stuff like these shields don't have to stick on. You can take them off. You can see there a tiny bit of blue tack, but that literally comes back off just with a little dab of the blue tack on the shield. So you can do quite a lot of things to make your Marines, you know, have different layouts without having to use magnets. So, you know, traditionally you would drill a massive hole in his shot. Well, not traditionally with pins. But the current day and age, everyone just uses magnets, and magnets are great, but they're very destructive in that you have to do lots of work to cut them in place. Well, blue tack is not destructive. In fact, it's incredibly cheap and very easy to use. And for the most part, you can't even see it's on this miniature. So again, really, really useful tips that just make your life a little bit easier. The actual equipment on them as well, if you compare these to like StarCraft, you've got a pistol, you've actually got grenades on there. You have like even like the bayonet fixed and stuff like that as well. They're really cool minis. So in addition to that, we also have, ta-da, our medic. And the medic's really cool. If you can do this from the right angle, can you see like the glow on the shield? It's just popping like crazy. You see the tiny bit of blue type. That's only temporary. So once the medic is painted up properly, that bit of blue tack will be removed and that'll be glued in place. For the rest of it, the little canisters on here, they are due to be properly painted. So they'll be painted white. The actual like healing effect that's on there, that is very much so designed to be left as like a glowing green effect. After all, we want to make use of all these amazing, cool, clear plastics. And we just check that I reposted into Archon as well. I think I did. Yes. Very good. All right. So let's get started building a Marine. We're building Marine B. So I'll just show you that very quickly. And the joys with these are they have given us several options on this. So we have 12 Marines, so we can build each variety of options. So you can see on here, you can have him with a pistol, you can have him with a rifle, you can have him with shields and all that kind of good stuff. And you can see the different examples over on this side, if the camera does as it's told. All right, so we have all the different examples. I'm tempted to do the pistol version. And again, all of the shields and stuff like that, I'm going to do just like a tiny dab of blue tack, just because it makes life easier. If you've just joined the stream, we are basically building Marine B there. So we're building different varieties. We have over here all the different options once they're finished up. So we're kind of building those. We do have examples already. We have our beautiful little Marine there. He has been primed in Macragge Blue. We obviously have all of our additionals. And of course, we've got things that can come off, like the shields and stuff like that. So any of you that are new to this hobby, in fact, there's one thing that I haven't shown you as well with him. His front comes off. So if you see that, we actually have him so that we can paint him after the fact. So like his face and stuff like that, which would be hard to access if this was built up, we can just literally clip that on, clip it off, and pick up our weapon effects that fall on the floor. And yeah, all of this sort of modularity that I like to kind of prescribe to people, that you don't have to glue everything in place and then struggle with the paint. The fact that you can like friction fit these front pieces on, so you can take off his arms, his weapon, and his front armor, just means that you're going to have way better access to it when you're painting it. So it's like little details like that that I think I can offer to you guys where, again, usual course, people recommend magnets. You can use magnets, but it takes a lot more effort. And if you mess up and you get the magnet the wrong way around, it's a pain to actually take that back. So little things like that that we can do. So let's get started. They are all labeled on their parts. Like internally, Archon has put like an A, B, or a C, D, E, O. I think E is the last one. There's 6 different varieties that you can build up, but they're all placed in all these parts. So if we can whack that up close, can you see that inside the leg just here? I don't know how bright it is. If I can get it in the right light. Can you see that B there? This camera's pretty cool. So you can see that B. That is on the inside of almost everything but the arms. So they're really easy to remember how to build them up. So in this case, we're going to start with B10, B16, and B2 as shown in there. So feel free to pause them and then come back if you need. But yeah, we're just going to have fun building. Obviously, I don't think that anyone here is in a major rush, but we've got till about 6 o'clock or so. We do have like a goal in mind. If we do in the next hour manage to make up 10 super chats, then I think the way it works is that if we hit that goal, I stop what I'm doing and we're going to go paint up this Terran Marine here. After all, we want him to, you know, kind of look good and be able to showcase what we can do with the Terrans. So I'll make enough time for that. In the meantime, though, let's get building B2 is sort of like the, is it the front section or the back section? It's hard to tell with these Marines because they're not built up like I'm used to. That looks like the front section. Yeah, so it's got like the leg attachment points. If at any point this camera jumping back and forth gets a little annoying, let me know and I'll just turn off that particular feature. That's super easy for me to do. But sometimes it is really useful because it'll zoom into things like the sprues and you can see things that you wouldn't be able to see normally. The downside is I have no control over what it actually does other than trying to suggest to it by putting things in front of its face, and if we're lucky, it figures it out, like when I'm working on things. So we've got B2, B16 is the head. So we've got to find the headpiece. Now the headpiece does have like a little notch in like the neck section of it, and that is purely designed so that you can like place it into the like cavity. Yeah, cavity is the right word. At the front of the armor. 9 subs to yeah, so we're gonna hit 1,000. We might hit 1,000 subscribers on this on this live chat here. So on this live stream, words, they're hard. So if you guys aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. We are really close to 1,000 subscribers. It doesn't quite get me over the line because it's based on I need my 4,000 watch hours, and I am 750 watch hours short of AdSense, which is really exciting for me. I made YouTube partner yesterday, so I'm really, really like happy that, you know, everything's going in the right direction. It's not like we've hit this goal, we've made it. It's like it's just the start, and it takes a little bit of the burden off of me. Obviously, all of these hobbies are expensive, so anything that takes a little off of me is useful. So let me just get this in a shot now, if it can focus. So this head here just got a little notch on the underside, if you can see that. So that notch specifically goes into the front piece of the armor, which if we whack that on, you should be able to see if it finds the right zoom. Just like a little cavity in there for it. So this is one of those bits where, as I'm building a miniature, I'm looking, where can I not glue something in place? Where can I like restrain it so that I can have better access to the model when I'm painting it? And in this case, I looked at the head, and the head does need to be glued in place. It's not like one of those ones that you can just, you know, leave out and then come back to it. Every now and then you get something like that with like a Games Workshop miniature where they have like a stalk on the head, and that literally is then taken. You can clip off like a bit on the bottom, you can pull it off and on, and then glue the head on later once you've finished painting it. In this regard, you do not have good access to the heads. Now, if you don't want to paint the faces, that's okay. We do have the clear plastic sprues, and amongst the clear plastic sprues is a visor. So let me just bring those to the forefront. So you see those visors? They are surprisingly opaque. Oh, thanks, Jack. Yeah, and don't forget to tell your work to watch all the videos as well. So yeah, if you look at the visors on there, there's like a hexagonal sort of texture. I mean, it is literally designed to look like the little hexagonal pieces in the helmet, despite the fact that they are incredibly tiny. But they're opaque enough that if you don't paint the faces, and this is kind of the point, if you don't paint the face, you can't really see the details of it. Now, for me, I'm now trying to figure out how I'm going to make it so I can take the helmets on and off, or the visors on and off, without it disrupting or massively affecting how the miniature looks. I've got some ideas, but for the time being, I'm just going to not glue them in place. If I can, maybe a bit of like the Citadel plastic glue, because it's a gel base. When it sort of dries, it dries a bit thicker, and it gives you a bit more of like a friction. So a little dab of that potentially either side of his cowl might just give enough friction that they don't fall out if you smack on tap them. But if you've got the right tool or some blue tack or something, you could stick it on and pull the thing off. That's kind of the idea. Also, with a lot of these miniatures, if you are finding any bits are a bit loose, and you are wanting to build them in sub-assemblies, Blue Tack does a great job. The Banana Boy, that's amazing. Entaro Tassadar. Entaro Adun Tassadar. For Aya. I love all the little voice cues. Like, again, this game is just pure nostalgia. Right. It doesn't really show it here, but when you see like the back piece, so that's your front piece and that's your back piece. It looks humongous. I was looking for a giant piece to actually stick on. They're actually quite small. So if I whack it next to my finger, you can see it's only the size of like, or the width of my fingernail. They're not the biggest of pieces, and yet when the miniatures together, they are just slightly larger than Space Marines. So if any of you are used to working with like Warhammer, and is certainly working with like Space Marines, or have an idea of how big a Space Marine is, these are ever so slightly bigger. They're quite noticeably wider. The proportions are a bit weird because the way that the power armor works for Terrans, like their hand isn't where their hand is, like you'd find with a Space Marine. It's in the gauntlet. And I think it's about the same with the feet. It's at the very top. If you actually watch the StarCraft 2 teaser from like 10 years ago or more even, which is scary. I think it was 2014. So it might have come out in like 2012. That one with Tychus Finley, as he gets like suited up into his armor and like welded in, that shows you exactly where the body goes in those pieces of armor. And it's not pretty. It's not a comfortable place to be. Certainly you do not want to be incarcerated in your armor, despite all of the recycling functions that exist there. So I don't entirely blame Tychus for wanting to get out of that thing, but he was a bit of a dick in the end. So yeah, now we have the body together. I'm just trying to find the best way to hold it. We'll do it from his legs. We've got a little torso there, and hopefully you guys can see that. Just bring it back slightly. And at the back, you can see like where all the tubes and the piping sort of like meet together. It's a really cool style of miniature, and you can see when they're built up just how chunky they are. They are like really thick. However, you put these guys next to Protoss, they're thick, but they're not tall in comparison. So here we have one of the Protoss that was painted up in the challenge. Main thing to note here is just look how forward leaning he is. And then let's put that roughly about the same height as the Terrans. It's kind of hard to pick out here, but if you can see that, the Protoss are truly humongous. Yo, it's Mike the Marine. Did we ever? No, we did get some name because I always look at Terrans as like cowboys. They are cowboys / war criminals / drug addicts. Not helped by any of the forces that you can play as Terrans, any of the sub factions. They love that. But yeah, maybe Cletus. I think Cletus would be a good name for a Marine. We got any more like, redneck kind of names? Come on, Cletus. We got some Zerg to kill. You can see next to Artanis there. Artanis is ridiculously tall. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he's probably around about 10 to 11 foot tall. He is humongous. So just so you have a scale idea, the Terrans are tall. They're about 8 to 8.5 foot tall in their armor. But even at 8 and 8.5 foot tall, they're dwarfed by like zealots and various Protoss. Yeah, literally put them next to each other. In fact, let me just have a little look here. All right, so the Terran medic is just only slightly smaller, but not by much. Artanis, just for scale size, is the size of a Marauder. Like, he's the height of a Marauder. So again, if we put these two next to each other, you can see those. See if we can get the camera to zoom in a bit more. He is literally, imagine that thing running at you. I mean, the Marauder is cool enough, but Artanis is an absolute monster. Also, a nice detailed shot there of Artanis as well. Fully enough, painting his flesh, we did all of the flesh of the Protoss, apart from like hands, because we just didn't have time. There's a 12-hour painting challenge that came out literally last night. We painted all of the flesh tones in the space of about half an hour. So it was literally Pro-Acryl's titanium white, which comfortably, without question, the best white that you can possibly buy, followed by Black Templar contrast Citadel paint. That was all I needed, and it gave me enough variation in like flesh tones. Again, we're going to work on it and build up from it as well, because I want a slightly lighter tone than that, but it gives us enough in the depth to be able to actually give us a really nice finish. All right, so we're on to the next piece anyway for the Marine that we're building, and we need parts B4 and B15. So this is the top like fusion reactor that they have, and then the front armor plating. Now, the thing to note here is that you need to glue on the fusion reactor at the top, but you do not want to glue on the chest rig. That means that we're going to be able to take it off, which is going to give us full access to like the face and all of that section. We're also going to have access to the lower part of the abdomen. So all that kind of stuff that usually gets covered up and is then difficult to work on, we're going to have access to. So this is kind of weird. If you can see the side of it there, you see how it's like two semicircles. It's really strange and bizarre how it fits together. Just click it in place properly. Is that in place? It's got a really weird, like, it doesn't quite feel right when it's attached. I wonder why. Definitely the right piece I just took off just then. Yep, definitely the right piece. Interesting. Generators up, backpacks up. And it should just slot in. And why is it not having like a click to it? It's like the side pieces are a bit too wide. Unless I'm missing something. I don't think I am. It usually goes right towards the back of the head there. That doesn't look like it's right, but guess it is. So if you're working on Marine B, this on the previous one felt like you knew when it was seated in place. This one does not give you that feeling. So I would do this as if going off the fit to the back of the head. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to immediately just get a bit of dab of our world famous Tamiya extra thin just to the back of the dome there. And then we're going to apply a little bit just onto these little semicircle joints. And once that starts tackying up and we know it's secure, then we can have a play around. Okay, so you can see how that is there. So it is a bit bizarre just how it fits. It doesn't look right, but it works. So I guess I just have to trust the process. Okay, so for the front piece, we're going to let that air dry a little bit more. The last thing that we want is that we rush through that, place this front piece on, and there's still wet glue and it destroys the idea of being able to go in after the fact. So we are just currently clipping off the front piece, and we have their front armor piece. Now, I'd originally said to Jack that the Terran Marines were about as detailed as Space Marines, and actually having time to build them up and have a proper look, actually I was completely wrong. Let's get that in focus. The detail in these like armor sections and towards the back even like the jets, the vents on the top of the armor there, it is so ultra detailed. They've gone to every painstaking effort to get every single piece of this armor just absolutely dotted with details. Even like getting details on the side of these pieces of armor is quite a difficult thing to do when your tooling is literally like that. So really impressive. They've done an amazing job. It may look better than when the rest is done. Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. It's one of those ones when you're gluing it in, you don't want it to be glued in and be in the wrong position. But again, we have this piece up here now. It does have a slight gap on one side, so we're just going to press these together a little bit more. Don't mind me, I'm just dropping power armor all over the floor. So here we go. We're going to show you that shot of this together. Hey, all right, Coffee and Hobby, you're well. So if we can get him just nicely in shot there, you can see how that sits. And the main thing is this does come off. Now, this one is, it is holding in place, but it's also coming off quite easily. Towards the front of this section here, we just have this nice little rim. All we're going to do is help ourselves to a little bit of blue tack. And we're only talking the tiniest amount here. You really don't need a lot. And we're just going to add a little, like, squidge of blue tack to the front of this. Just so we can tacky it up. There you go. A little bit like that. Even that might be a bit too much. We'll find out in a second. Nope, that works. So now we can drop it and it's not going to go anywhere. You've got a little bit of resiliency to it. Again, just look at the detail on the front of there. There we go. Got to remember my rights to my lefts. Everything's mirrored for me, so it's a bit weird. But yeah, so that is now pieced together. Again, even with like the visor on the inside, you might be able to get away with just a bit of blue tack, just so you have like a little bit more protection from things falling out. Certainly it is a tacky material, and you're not going to see it if you just use the tiniest amount. So have a think about that. Next thing that we're building is the legs. So the legs are one piece, and this is kind of where we get to sort of the downside with the Terran. The legs being one piece means that you get the flash line in the middle, you get the mold line, but they're quite detailed, and so you have quite a lot of recesses. Again, I will show you off the leg piece on here. You have quite a lot of like recesses where you're not realistically going to be getting in with your clippers or your mold removal tool. So just be cognizant that you can get rid of quite a lot of the mold lines. You have access to enough of like all the top faces, but anything that's in like a recess or anything like that, don't feel like you overly have to remove every last ounce of it. And if you just can't be bothered and you want to leave them there, I'm not judging you. Some people might, but it's your miniature. You do what you want in life. You paid for them, you enjoy them. And it is like additional hobby that not everyone particularly wants to do. I certainly don't enjoy removing mold lines. It's a very painstaking, time-consuming process. Now, we're just going to clip off one of the legs, and I will show you exactly what I mean on here. So we're going to have a look, and if you look at that, do you see that little flash line all the way down the middle? Bring it forward. That is not the chunkiest of lines. The tip of a knife might be able to get in there. Yeah, possibly. Exactly. It depends what level you're going for. I mean, yes, you can make these to an absolute show quality, you know, like a army showcase sort of standard. I also have my cat here. 1 second. Come on. Good boy. Right, come say hi to the chat. There you go. Good boy. This is Tally. He's a good boy, but unfortunately, he doesn't like being picked up for long. He does love shouting at me, though. So, right, back on topic. I tend to use the corners of a clipper, like the back edge of a clipper. So, you've got a nice sharp kind of line with that. So you don't always need to have like a blade, but certainly a relatively sharp metal object. Ideally, the thing that you're less likely to cut yourself on, because it happens quite often. So we're going to just take light pressure. This is a soft, don't let him eat anything. I won't. The worst thing he's going to do is jump up on here. And he might do that because if I'm ignoring him for too long, he gets a little bit upset with me and shouts at me a lot, don't you? Yeah, good boy. He likes to croak at me. So we're just going to take with sort of like the back of our hand, and it's like a peeling a potato sort of style there. So hold your miniature with your thumb and just bring the blade in towards you. And you're just going to apply light pressure. That's super important. If you apply too much pressure, you will start to create like a jagged finish to your miniatures, because these are very soft plastics in comparison to what you might find with like Games Workshop or with their clear plastics. Their clear plastics are a lot nicer. So yeah, don't go too crazy. It is very easy to gouge like the wrong piece of this or the wrong section. And as with all plastics, it's not like you can grow plastic back on. A Golden Dema winner will go after every little imperfection, but if you're just painting for yourself or play with others, flashing ain't a big worry. Exactly. People get really, really tied up to the idea of like, you've got flash marks, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just enjoy yourself. Also, before you say it, Pat, yeah, I've just seen that we've won. A little bit of football going on at the minute. And we're off to a good start, which I should hope so after a good season last year. If you want to take guesses as to who I support, you can take guesses. We might even reveal it at 100,000. I'm joking. I think there's things that people would care about more than what I support for football, but I don't know. People are a bit strange with football in this country. Well, that's cool. All right, so again, this is like a single piece, and yet they've managed to do like the gap in there for like the hydraulics. So cover my face. Can you see that gap by the knee? There we go. Pretty interesting. So first piece of flash is removed. Now, this is one of those ones where my time is limited. So not in terms of the live stream, but in terms of like my day-to-day, I'm running lots of shows. I'm an actor, so I'm doing lots and lots and lots of like seasonal acting work. If you do want to use clippers to try and get in between like the little gaps of the knee pad, by the way, open them up, be nice and careful, and just rub it back and forth. Not in like a sawing motion, just in like a twisty motion like that. Being careful not to catch yourself. And that way you can just about get in there and then clear it out with like a nail, because it won't necessarily remove it. So you still have to like kind of go back in. But yeah, you'll end up with, less flash on there now. So it looks better. We'll show you how to do it correctly. And then whatever level you take it up to is down to you. Like I say, these are particularly awkward miniatures when it comes to like the spacing and the amount of like room that you've actually got to work in. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you're new to the hobby, don't even necessarily have to bother with this stage. But if you do want to, just take your time, be nice and gentle and nice and light. Because if you go too heavy with this, because it is the soft plastic, you'll get a judder. So it'll like gouge, slip, and it'll just create like a little jagged line. Regenerative bioplastic, where are we? Also, I've told folk before that when it comes to flash lines, you don't need anything too sharp. Yeah, you really don't. A metal object, ideally not like a rolled steel pin or something like that, but the back corner of your clippers. You don't even have to use a sharp front bit. Just use like the 90-degree bit there. That with the pressure of your hand is enough to get it off. It's plastic. It's even like the harder plastics are still plastic. They're not that hard. And if you look at like the trim removal tools that you can get through like Citadel, even those are really simple, like just not sharp blades. And some of them have like a textured, like a grooved kind of metal surface for like filing. So even then, you don't need like anything sharp. You don't need particularly like, you don't even need like proper files. Just take your time. That's the most important thing with this. Take your time, enjoy the process. I would say as well, the feet of these bases, I don't know if you can see that. This is with relatively decent clippers. There's still quite a lot of material on there. So I do recommend that you just go back over the bases where it's going to glue on and just make sure they're as flat as you can get them. Again, I'm sort of like doing it where my finger is on one end. Let me see if I can get that nice up and close for you. Where my finger is on one end and I'm just like closing it in. But obviously, whilst I can see, digging like the bottom end into the plastic. Just so I'm not going to cut myself, but I can get as close as I can possibly get. The other thing, very similar, use the flat of your clippers and you just work your way sort of outwards like that. And you're just trying to shave off really fine amounts of plastic. Again, don't go too aggressive. You don't want to gouge it or anything like that. So now we have one leg. We still haven't like attached this front piece other than with a bit of blue tack. I did forget the blue tack was on there. So that front face does not have to come off for you to put the legs on. Even the arms. The arms can stay attached and the arms will come off with the chest piece. But again, for the access to paint the face, it's well worth it. And then you can glue it afterwards if you really want to, or you can just leave it and every now and then pull it off and show people that, look, he's got a cool face that I painted. Now, with the legs, we have pins. So I don't know if you can see that there. We've got pins where the legs are going to go. And of course, in the leg sections, we have nice big gaps. In the gaps, it has the letter of the piece it's supposed to go onto. So at all times, they've got you covered for like what bits fit on what. Now, the legs are going to go on. We're going to dry fit it, which is I've attached the piece without glue. We're then going to take a little bit of glue, remove any excess because we don't want big blobs of it. And all we're going to do, just get myself out of shot there, is just put that in the gap between there. And it's going to use what's called the capillary effect. So like a big pool of water is going to spread itself out amongst two tightly fitted pieces. So I can now let go of that. That is already glued. So this is not the quick setting stuff. I can pull this apart if there's any mistakes. But that leg is well and truly glued on. It's trying to hound my face as this camera. But we're not going to let it have that because I want it to show you all that. Gotta love all those details. Yeah, the StarCraft miniatures set is by far away the most detailed miniatures that I've worked with, maybe aside from Forge World resin. And even then, most of the Forge World resin I've had experience with is with like Space Marines. And so whilst they are highly detailed, they're also Space Marines. They have smooth panels with added intricacies. These are just crazy levels of detail. There are still lots of smooth pieces of plastic, but even like the leg piece, this is closer to what you get with like Blood Angels, where you have sculpting for the leg. You see like the musculature of the leg, like the amount of detail, like just like the little gaps and holes in places. They've done a really cool job. I'm a Wednesday fan. I had a horrific season last year. Yeah. I can't remember if we beat you. That doesn't give away who I support. I'll tell you in person. Most folk work a 9 to 5 and don't have a whole bunch of time either. So it's good to see folk like you showing the understanding of that. Yeah. This whole box, I'm just going to get the other leg off whilst I'm here. This whole box came a month too late for me. So if we'd have stayed on track for the item shipping between the 6th and the 9th, I'd have had a very different month last month. Everything would have been Starcraft related, and I would have had time to have like done 48-hour challenges. So you'd have had a build video, which is kind of what I did already, but the build video that I did for Starcraft, it was a very hastily put together video because I just didn't have time to do my correct production stuff. So Thursday, when I worked on the 12-hour painting challenge, we did a live stream during that. One of the hottest days of the year so far, and it was horrific to paint in. But I had to take a day off. I had to get a cover from another actor so that I could basically get that video done. That was a 12-hour start to finish video, but that doesn't include like setup, breakdown. When the 12-hour painting challenge finishes, I have roughly about half an hour of the beautiful shots of the showcases of the army. So when you see that, when you see like the like overlaid B-roll footage of, you know, zooming across the miniatures, all that kind of stuff, it takes me about half an hour to like get everything exactly how I want it. I have a nice little backing. In this case, we had the art books. I wanted the art books to be the thing that like showed off because you had a Terran Marine and you had Sarah Kerrigan. So all that kind of stuff takes a lot of time. The edit for that entire thing, this isn't uploading and all the like marketing stuff and the SEO stuff, took me about 6 hours. So all in all, we're probably looking around about 19 to 20 hours to make a video that was, I think it was 16 and a bit minutes long. It might be close to 17. So just have that in mind. You know, when these videos go out, there is a lot of time and effort that goes into some of these videos. Not every video takes that long. Some of the challenge videos take significantly less time. For instance, like the 1 hour for like Yarrick and stuff like that took me roughly 4 hours in total, which is much nicer. You feel like you lose a lot less time. I'm going to turn on this light so you can see my bald patch better, but also so I can see a little bit of here because my lights are currently set up to light me up, not to light up the miniature. Whereas that light being top down just gets in sight there. So we're just removing the mold lines at the minute. Nothing particularly crazy. And trim these off. Again, it's kind of weird seeing this with colored plastic because it literally looks like I'm scraping a crayon. Like all the little tiny blue shavings that come off look really bizarre. I'm just so used to seeing like gray thanks to all the Warhammer stuff. And speaking of which, if you do like Warhammer in addition to StarCraft as well, next month is going to be a bit more time for me, and we should have 40k orcs coming out for 11th edition, all the new miniatures. We're going to go look at what miniatures we can get, but also we're going to do a very special video building a looted Lehman Rush battle tank. So we're going to do a, what they call it, a battle wagon. So that's going to be some cool stuff that we'll do for the future for Warhammer. All the orc stuff. Space Marines should be the month after that. But in the meantime, in addition to the Warhammer 40k stuff, we have Wave 2 coming. Now, the aim is to get a Ravager, a Stalker, a Siege Tank, a Siege Tank, a Ravager, and an Immortal, plus the ramp as well, the terrain piece, because I want to have access to be able to play this game with, you know, varying levels and blocking and stuff like that. You don't need them, but if you have them, it does make life a little bit easier for you. And in all fairness to Archon, they don't seem to overcharge for their terrain kits. Like, if you look at Games Workshop, to get... I'm not saying that the Archon terrain is the best terrain in the world. I think Warhammer does better at it, but for the amount that you spend, I think they do a really good job. And you're talking, you know, 30 to 40 pounds. It's pretty impressive compared to, you know, big dog Games Workshop. Right, so we're just getting this leg in place now, and it, there we go, we found it. Again, this miniature for some reason doesn't seem to have the most positive, like, fitting pieces. In fact, that's not quite right at the back. That's still definitely a B. Okay, For some reason, that piece is C. I'm pretty sure I removed B and not C. So we're going to check the legs now. So we've got one leg that is C7. And what is the other leg? B7. Okay, no. The joys is with this is you go wrong like that and you pick out the wrong leg. They each have the leg number just on the inside. It's kind of hard to see with this lighting, but just inside that divot, they have it printed in there, which is great because this is now twice that it's happened to me. I did it with the medics, and I've just done it now as well. So I don't know if there was a part that had like a B on the other side of it, and I've just got them confused. But it doesn't really matter. In fact, if anything, it's more annoying when you spend the 5 minutes to remove the flash line. I'm just going to tickle my cat. When you remove the flash line... All right, Tally, you're going to have to stop shouting, darling. Good boy. You can't jump up on there, can you? Just trying to find a spot for him to be able to like come over and relax a bit more. He's my cat, by the way. And he's a bit like a dog. He has to be kind of the center of attention. He's just out of shot. Oh, yeah. Good boy. There you go. Yes. All right. So we're going to remove the flash for the right leg this time. Trying not to take too long. But you can see, like, just to remove flash from a leg is almost a 5-minute job. I mean, it's not quite a 5-minute job. You can do it quite quickly when you're not talking back and forth. But I remember in the beginning of the year when I was doing mini basics, I did a short on removing mold lines, and folk were surprised that you didn't need something super sharp or a specific tool. Yeah. But to be fair, if you have I mean, I wouldn't use like a sharp knife, like a steak knife or like a filleting knife or anything like that. Oh, just give me a second. It seems like the stream is struggling to connect. Just give us a moment. There seems to be something wrong. Right. Can you guys all hear me now? Did we have like a moment where I'd disappeared for a second? I just had like a warning up on my screen that we've been disconnected or we were on like bad signal. Which shouldn't be the case. We're on gigabyte Wi-Fi and I have a repeater that's literally just down there. So I don't know if we've just got problems with signal. Nope, you're good. Brilliant. That'll do for me. All right, as long as we're live and running, I'm happy. Don't think I actually had anything to eat today. I think I'm still fasted. So one of the joys of when I'm busy with the acting work is I'm focused. I tend to hyper-focus. And I'm quite a chunky guy, you know. I'm like 19 stone, or I might just have tucked under. I might have be over. I'm not entirely sure because I work in kilograms. But yeah, oh, that's good. Yeah, on my end, it literally said like, you know, poor signal, reconnecting you. So for whatever reason, YouTube has detected it. But glad to know it hasn't actually affected the stream. Yeah, so I'm losing quite a lot of weight at the minute. Or I'm certainly, you know, pushing myself to lose a bit of weight. So rather than having breakfast and lunch and things like that, I tend to fast through. So it's one of those, when I'm focused, I can do it quite well. It's not unhealthy for me. I'm a bit like a caveman. My DNA is particularly good at breaking down fats and stuff like that, but I'm less good at dealing with like carbs. So if I have lots of carb stuff, then that causes me issues. But if I just like, you know, have one meal, it doesn't matter if it's carbs and stuff like that, but then yeah, keeps me in good nick. So I'm losing lots of weight. So all of these sort of things like the live streams are really useful just to like sort of focus away from having to eat anything, and that way I can get fitter and healthier. Seeing if any of you guys like watch the Warhammer stuff, Valrak tends to have like a stream where he just goes on a treadmill and just walks on a treadmill. I'm not going to that extreme, but it would be nice to do something similar. Again, I think when you're in this kind of a hobby, certainly like for work-wise, keeping on top of your fitness is quite difficult because, again, you know, painting takes a long time. Building takes a long time. And they're all these kind of activities where you're sat down. Anyway, we'll get off of the health topic and we'll get on to questions. I'll take a look out. I'll take a look at our after the stream. However, we're still waiting for my StarCraft set. Yeah, if I remember correctly, are you Canada, de Banana? Oh, thank you. All right. In what ways has the cat messed up with the creation of figures? So he's more like a dog in that he wants to be like, oh, US. Okay. Yeah, I remember because obviously you've commented quite a lot with like all the StarCraft videos and shorts. So obviously I recognize you from that. He likes to be around me constantly. And if I'm painting downstairs, I don't always paint in the studio because it's great to paint here for videos. But when I'm just living my life and I'm painting off stream, I want to be, with my fiance and stuff like that. I'll sit downstairs, I'll sit on the floor and I have like a little laptop table with like extended legs and stuff like that. Because for some reason, I just find it really comforting. When I used to paint as a kid, I used to paint sat down on the floor. So for me, I'll be sat down and he will walk under the table. He forgets he has a tail and I have a wet palette that's just sat there. And like his tail will dip over towards the table and I have to like swat his tail out of the way. Otherwise he's going to drag paint literally everywhere. And once, and thankfully it was fresh. So I had a fresh sheet on my wet palette. I had a couple of paints on there and he jumped from literally down here onto the table, landed into the wet palette, and by the grace of God, did not step on the paint and walk everywhere. Because I do not want to see my fiance's face when I have to say to her, oh yeah, sorry, we're going to need new carpet because the cat has decided to jump into my paints and walk all over the floor and run away when I tried to like get them. He's a lovely cat. Like that dog-like nature of him always needing me is kind of what makes him so unique and special. He always has to be with me, hence why he's currently not within eye shot. That's unusual. He'd usually just be out in the landing with his little cat climber or his little scratchy post, just laid there waiting for me to like come out of the door. I think because he's been able to come in a bit, he's relaxed a bit more. He shouts me all the time, so he'll be constantly like, he has this like really croaky voice. So we try and like humanize his voice. It's like, hello, where are you? And that's kind of how we perceive how he talks. He's a really, really beautiful but silly cat, and I love him. He's also one of two of our boys. So we have Batman as well, and Batman has dedicated his life to defending the outdoor fence. Like if a cat goes past it, he wants to take it out. But we have netting all over our fence so they can't get out because we've got a big drop at the back. We don't want them to slip and cause themselves harm. Speaking of which, Tali is back. Come here, Tali. Yes, come here. Come say hi again. I know it's not your favourite, but you're a good boy. Come on, say hello. Good boy. That's right. For everyone that's just joined the stream, they're just seeing a cat instead of building Marines. Good boy. And we also have the mother of the two as well. She's called Lana, which was named after Archer. And she, in particular, likes shouting at her boys if they come into the room with her. She's an angry girl. Right, you can jump up on here if you like. I mean, there's literally a bed down there for you if you want to come stay in here. Good boy. So he is currently just there. Good boy, Tally. All right. So let's get back on with these Marines. We've dealt with the mold lines and we are now just going to, there we go, perfect fit, as it should be because it's the right part. We're now just going to glue this on. Again, a little dab, let that capillary effect do its job. Within the space of a few seconds, we can let go and ta-da, it is glued on beautiful. That is Tamiya extra thin plastic cement. And again, just look at all the details on that miniature. I would like a cat. I would like a cat like one of them. This is the thing with cats. They all have very different personalities. Like no cat is the same, and you'll see people go, I'm a dog person because cats are selfish assholes. That's just not true. Cats are particularly loving. He loves to wash me, as does Batman. In fact, Batman will like force a wash on you as well. So it's like you're just tickling him because you want him to be happy, and he purrs really loudly, and he'll take that as, okay, I'm going to wash your entire hand. So you're kind of stuck there for a little bit of time. Tali is friendly, and Batman protects from hearing that accused base. Your base is under... Was it Red Alert that did like your base is under attack? I can't remember it being StarCraft, but I've not had a chance to play StarCraft in about 2 months. My aunt has 10 of them. Does she have is it like a cat sanctuary? Is it like one of those ones where she looks after animals and protects them and stuff like that? Because my fiance's auntie, like she does like RSPCA, which is like the UK equivalent charity that looks after animals that have been abandoned, miscared for, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, kind of in that regards, I kind of wish that people would neuter their animals a bit more, because we have like a population crisis where there are a lot of cats and not enough people to look after them, and it leads to horrible scenarios where you have these wonderful creatures that are just being sort of left and abandoned, and it's just really sad. So look after your animals. All right, so we're now just clipping off the rifle. We're going to do the pistol variant for this as well. So if you're just joining, we are building Marine B, which is not his name. In fact, can someone give me a redneck name beginning with B? Because I look at all of like the Terran Marines as rednecks. They like gun-toting, like absolute nut jobs. But I'm not saying rednecks are nut jobs, just in terms of like the Billy. Fair enough. So we got cousin Billy over here. We got, oh no, we're going to have to say Cletus for C. We need one beginning with A because we got Marine A here. Now, don't get me wrong, I can do a better Southern accent than this, but this is like a bit of an extreme one for all y'all. Yeah, don't rate this one out of 10. If you do, we're going to lose. All right, so we're just taking the weapon off now. Just completely drop the accent and get straight back into it. Fully enough, this is a really cool time to actually look at the weapon itself. You can just see... I'm not talking like the details of it. I mean, like, if any of you played the games, you might just about get them in like animation. Aaron. Nice recall if you know where that's from. So here we have the rifle itself. Let's just get that perfectly in detail there. So these use two-stage... it's not like a bolt rifle where it's a two-stage propellant. So it's like it has an initial charge followed by a secondary rocket motor. These have an initial charge followed by a Gauss magnetization field. So it magnetically accelerates the projectile to Mach 5. And I think previously I said it might be tungsten, but I think someone has clarified it's like depleted uranium. So it's like the hardest metal that you can get, traveling at you at Mach 5, and the densest. It's like it's a really bad weapon to get hit by. There's a reason why I think it punches through tank armor. Like, they are surprisingly... Again, this is all sci-fi. It's not real, but if it was, it would be ridiculous. Like, comfortably the most powerful rifle in existence. And it's like, if you're like firing depleted uranium at Mach 5 at things, you're like punching through tanks. Like, modern tank armor would struggle to deal with that round. You'd have to have like constantly have reactive armor. And again, they fire them on fully automatic, like, like, trying to think of the best way to describe it, like, people that have an M4 for the first time. I'm an ex-soldier myself. And the only times that we ever really got to fire an automatic is when we're dumping like ammunition. And that was like a very, very rare sort of thing to do. It was like, we're not returning these blank rounds because then we'll get less next time. So you're spending them all. We don't do that anymore, or didn't do that. I've since left. But yeah, they literally go through like 60 rounds with no effort whatsoever, no thought to it. This one's now actually really easy to build. Once you get to the point of the arms, I mean, to be fair, once you get to the point of the legs, it's really easy, but the arms themselves go on super, super easy. So this guy is literally going to be holding his rifle underarm and have a pistol out. That's kind of the pose that we're going for. You can fit a shield to him, and all of the shields tend to be like left shoulder. So it is a bit of a strange one in that, yeah, it kind of does. He does have that protection, but he's like exposed because he's doing the pistol the wrong way. This won't zoom out enough. We'll try and do it forwards. Please don't do this at home. So he's like got it that way when really he should have his shield up, even if he's like got to reload or anything, and the pistol should be around. A bit like Warhammer breaches. So we've seen like Horus Heresy breaches. Again, you want your shield to be between you and the target. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of a strange choice, but as far as I am aware, they've said it on their AMAs that Blizzard have a little bit like how Games Workshop does. Oh, let me just remove that. Just realized. So when you're gluing the hands on, gluing the arms on as well, because we have the removable front faceplate there, just do this part separately, just so that the glue, because it is an uncontrollable thing with that capillary effect, it's going to want to find every nook and cranny. If it goes and finds its way on the back on the inside of there, it will glue itself in, and then you don't have access to paint your face that you want to. Not without doing a slightly destructive method to recover it. All right, so the arm is in place. We're now going to get the pistol arm, which I'm really excited for. The pistol looks freaking awesome. Like, look at that. Full-blown space revolver. Again, like the armor piece, just so you can get a good look at like what the armor looks like for them. And you see the amount of detail and depth in there as well. I mean, the pistol is absolutely like sick. Again, I think in terms of like Warhammer, which is what I'm used to, StarCraft just takes the silliness like a little extra step further. I mean, Warhammer's very good at taking the mick out of itself, whereas Blizzard takes it very seriously. Like, a world gets blown up in Warhammer and the Imperium doesn't even blink. They don't even send out anything to get to like that planet until they realize that they've not given their tithes. It's like, oh, where's our 5,000 ships of grain? Oh, the planet got destroyed. Oh, that sucks. Whereas like with the Terrans, when the Protoss started glassing planets, the Terrans are immediately like, what on earth has just happened? We need to immediately clamp down on that and protect our population. So the Imperium, not the nicest place in the world to live. All right, let me get back on to some of the questions anyway. I've been seeing more and more kits coming out with better detail. You can tell the technology is getting better and better. Warhammer as well, like the details got better. Things are getting sharper, which is good. I've got a tactical squad, Dakar rig, and Tau combat patrol coming from Dark Pact. Very cool. The tactical squad, I think that came out pre-COVID. If I remember, in fact, yeah, I think the new tactical squad came out in something like 6th edition. I remember looking at them, and obviously I had loads of tactical squads. But the old style, which are less detailed, less sharp. So yeah, you can see how the world has changed. So look, I think she just loves them. In Bulgaria, they are all around the streets and super friendly. So she also feeds a dozen more outside in the yard. I mean, that is like the perfect like babushka, isn't it? So whenever I go to like, I don't go abroad very often. The last time I went to anywhere on holiday was Spain, and that was 9 years ago. So that's the last time I went abroad properly. In fact, no, it's just the last time I went abroad. Wow. Oh no, did I go to Cyprus with the army before or after then? I can't remember. Anyway, I divulge. I digress. That's the correct word. divulging is giving out too much information. I digress. So yeah, in Spain there was like lots of stray cats, and again quite sad, and skinny cats as well. Not even like, you know, well fed. At least, you know, they're being looked after by someone. These were just cats that looked in dire need of like care and attention. Which, yeah, the world is unfortunately very sad for any animals that don't have a home and are not loved, which is why, yeah, we should have, not in a bad way, but we should have either less cats or more people that look after their cats properly. And unfortunately, it's all too easy for them to get neglected. Yeah, again, it's one of those responsibilities in life. You know, if you want a pet, then you have to look after them. I think it's just Billy Taylor. Taylor's a good one. Aaron, and this runs on magnets. Yeah, Gauss rifles. They're sick. I mean, they call them a Gauss rifle, but I think in reality, well, no, I'm thinking of Gauss or Gauss, however you want to pronounce it, from Necrons in Warhammer 40k. That is like an anti-biological weapon, so it just rips apart, you know, flesh and stuff like that. That's the kind of thing that is very good for horror, and Necrons are very good at like being used in horror stories because they're just unbelievably hard to defeat. This is like proper sci-fi sick weapon, because the whole point of this, like even having a cartridge to like do that initial push, is almost unnecessary. You could just have an entire like a rail rifle. It could just be a rail rifle, but instead, because they're like hicks and rednecks and they love guns, they just all have these little charges just for the sake of it. It feels like it's just coded just so that they can like get away with fire enough rounds. So we almost have this guy built now. In fact, I think if we look at him from this perspective, that is, technically speaking, our Marine done. But we do have a few additionals that we can add to him as well. So again, we're going to take off the front for this, and I'll show you the instructions as to why we're doing that. So here we have, you can add sort of like a grenade pack to him as well, to his leg. It does give you the instructions to do this before you add the arm on, so on the red section here. So B13, and you add that on before you add on the arm because it gets in the way. However, we're clever. We don't glue on the front face. So because we can just take that on and off, we have access to the legs at all points. How many armies on 40k do you have? Okay, so just to go back in time a little bit, I started Warhammer probably when I was about 10 with, I think it was Lord of the Rings. In fact, Jesus Christ, yeah, it's literally 25 years. I think the miniatures came out at the same time as the films. So it's 2001, I think, was the Fellowship of the Ring. God, yeah, that's a really long time ago, actually. Don't mind my existential crisis while I realize that I'm now old and nearly 35. I know it's not that old, but, you know, you're getting on a little bit. I'm not young anymore. It's hard to say that I'm young, unless you're from the perspective of like your 60s or 70s. You're still there, Pat. So yeah, I started with that, and then I quickly found Dawn of War. I think at this point we're already playing StarCraft, which, Pat, can you remember when you got StarCraft? I think this is the original game that we actually played it on, which was like one of the Game of the Year sort of ones. And it came out with Brood War. So that is literally the StarCraft that I grew up on. I mean, I could be wrong. We might have had an even older copy of it. It might have been like the old plasticky style CD cases. But I'm pretty sure it was this one. I'm just trying to see if it has like a 1997 to 2001. Yeah, it must have been this. This must have been the copy. It must have been like a year after it came out. The CD is still intact. Oh my God, there's two? Yeah. Ooh. You only see scratch CDs. I mean, I'll give it to it. It is, you know, 2.5 decades old. Then we got Brood War underneath that. Yep. All fun. Oh yeah, Wings of Liberty. Obviously, I have the Legacy of the Void and the Wings of Liberty collector's editions were all purchased about 2 or 3 months ago. I purchased them after I did the pre-orders for Starcraft TMG. So once I got the miniatures, I need to make content for this whilst we're waiting. And what better than having art books? Now, I already had the Heart of the Swarm. I managed to get that when it came out. I was late to Wings of Liberty. I was quite surprised, actually. Wings of Liberty coming in like the proper like little fold-out case and stuff. Like a little bit of Velcro on it, you know, that's a nice touch. You don't see like companies do this as often now. Like even your steel cases are like a quick like stamped bit of tin with a little bit of printing on it. They don't have like that level of detail to them anymore. I think Blizzard do a really good job of making an event of you getting your game. In fact, I've not opened this for years and years and years. So I'm actually going to take the disc out of this one. I'll have a look at the disc. All right. So it is the regular StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty. I'm pretty sure they use the same disc for the collector's edition, but do you know what? We're here. Let's have a look. Again, inside, you get your little player's guide, you get your discs. I know this isn't, I mean, it's kind of adjacent to the video game, so I suppose we can talk about this. And this disc is in perfect condition. I mean, look at that. I think they had download codes at that point. I don't even think this disc has ever been run. I certainly don't remember running it. And yeah, Blizzard having everything online is sometimes quite useful. Sometimes it's annoying and frustrating. But for this, it was not. And yeah, for the collector's edition, whack that up there. Let's see. Yeah, you get the exact same. I'd have thought they'd have done like a collector's edition face to it. But in addition to this, you do get, I mean, there's the dog tag. I think the dog tag is currently in my bedroom, which I like occasionally wear that for these kind of videos. I might go get that in a minute. You get the soundtrack. Like having the soundtrack to all of the games, you can get it on YouTube now, but back in the day, obviously that wasn't as readily available. And the behind the scenes. Now, I've watched all the behind the scenes again on the Xbox, just because there's nothing better to inspire you than watching like the cinematic trailer get made. Like again, we're painting things, and we're painting things based off of the game that we all love, and we should be painting from an inspired sort of like point or starting point. And whether that for you is artwork, whether it's, you know, playing the game and having those moments and you kind of think, oh, this is how I want my Marines to look. Like that's how I go about painting my miniatures. So I'm inspired by the artwork and I create something from that. And you have a little bit of artwork. If you pre-ordered the, I don't know if it just comes with the 2-player, but if you ordered the Protoss starter set, if that comes with the rulebook as well, now you can buy this after the fact, but there is a surprising amount of artwork that does come in your core rulebook. So any of you that have the 2-player Founders set, as far as I'm aware, unless you're the very earliest, so I think it will affect some US orders, but then they're going to ship them after the fact for you. So you won't be missing out. You will get them. But yeah, you have like artwork on the inside of there. There's various like bits where they give you something. So when I'm painting my Jim Raynor, for instance, that's actually surprisingly useful because I need to be able to replicate that. And actually replicating that is going to be quite difficult. But we'll have a play about. Also trying to make that in transparent. I'm going to have to really thin down my whites. Check what time we're on. For collectors, I would have liked Tychus as the face. Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Or, in fact, no, Tychus would have been the correct one. Or Mensk, if you wanted to do, like, you know, the evil run through. I have the 2-player starter set, but ordered in April, so probably have the cool art. Yeah, you will do. I mean, even like the box art, like you have a little bit there. So how this relates to painting, for instance, Sarah Kerrigan, through her transformation into like a Zerg, goes through several different iterations. So in Brood War, her face is way more green. Don't know if we have an example of that right here. Oh, we do. Here we go. See, this is where art comes in handy. So if you want to paint your Sarah Kerrigan like she's her initial infested state, that's a pretty good way, even though that one is technically supposed to be her ascended form. But you can see in there, her face has that like green tint to it. It's almost unnatural. Whereas you see her over here. Oh no, wrong way. Una momento, por favor. You see her here, and that is a much more natural looking face. Like the pink hues and stuff like that, and the psionic energy running through her veins. That kind of thing affects how you can paint these miniatures. So if you do want to change the way that you're painting them, you know, find what inspires you, find what parts you like. It's the same with like my Protoss. Let me just show you my Zealot. But my Zealot here, I mean, the paint job is, apart from the base is like almost perfect for what I wanted. Let me just get my face out of the way. There we go. So the Zealot there, aside from the base, God, it's actually hard to like keep your hands still at an angle. But he's just mostly gold. He doesn't have the color on him. And ideally, I want to do it like the multiplayer style. So I'm going to find places on their armor. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do blue yet. So it might be like McCrag blue, or it might be teal with like a Sons of Horus green. Again, going back to like your StarCraft 1 Phoenix with all the additional like teal accents. That's sort of like the thing that I really like. And we have some examples of it with like our adepts. So if you look at the adept there, we obviously have blue. I was tempted to do that in teal and have that be like the, again, multiplayer color style. But we've also got two different blues on here. So if you look towards like the gemstones, let me just cover my face so autofocus. So you see like the blue style gems, all of those are a slightly lighter blue. They're all going to get worked on further as well. So that sort of theming, I like the idea of. I kind of want these to all tie in. And I do have a better example with like the centuries as well. It's also just a slight excuse to show off my my Protoss. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen it yet, we do have the 12 hours painting challenge where we painted all these Protoss up. These haven't changed since then. So it is a slight spoiler. So you can see like the almost Egyptian alternating blue and gold on there. Now we do have to extend that out to the sides of it as well. But yeah, just like little bits of colors, it just makes the miniatures pop a little bit more, makes them a bit more exciting to look at and to play with. Also, all of the power shields on here, all the shields that are flared up, you can just about see it on the base. All of that is held on with blue tack. Now, in terms of like the angle that you're going to see it from, you're probably seeing it from about that angle. So you don't really ever see the blue tack. And when you look underneath, the opaque white kind of just gives it like a bright flaring sort of spot. So I think blue tack works really well if you don't want to glue it down, which I don't particularly want to. And someone mentioned as well in the Archon Discord, you have the ability to like literally take them off. And that gives you way more options because then, you know, you can have your game without having your Zealot shielded up. Or if you lose your shield during the game, you can have your shield literally physically removed, which is a pretty cool detail. Again, it's the little things. You've got to make these things as immersive as you possibly can for yourself. I'm actually going to remove just a little bit of that blue tack. It doesn't need quite so much. Again, it's a very useful tool as well. Whenever you're doing anything where drilling magnets is just a bit too much of a pain, then go and have a look at doing something like, you know, blue tack route. It's cheap, it's effective, and it does the job really well. I mean, these are barely moving. Again, you put him out there. It looks better. Only a thin line of blue tack at the bottom there. They're sort of, look at like the posing to him. Just the absolute crazy running man legs. like sprinting forward. Yeah, I mean, he's still got more work to be done on him. These are obviously just done to a challenge standard. They're not done to my army showcase standard. I'll give you one more last little look before you can go watch the video and see how we actually did it. And that is the pylon. I mean, you require additional pylons when you look at this. It's absolutely amazing. Pay particular attention to like the green in the base as well. So we've added sort of like a mossy layer onto the rocks, because obviously when you look at the base or the mat that you get for the starter set, you have this really green Lost Temple map layout. It's missing some of the greys in there. I wish they'd had more greys instead of just greens like the stones, but again, they've gone for this overrun, overly like overgrown sort of style. So the map itself is like moss central, grass central. But I want a Protoss base or Protoss army that can be played on multiple like tables without looking a bit too bizarre. And so for that, we've gone for the typical rocky look. Again, I think the grass just gives it that little extra definition. Just flip my hand around. There you go. Have it on the lighter side. But yeah, they are really, really cool miniatures. All of this as well is just painted onto the texture of the base. So the base has so much texture on it that you don't necessarily need to get yourself like additional base textures or even additional bases. You can just paint them up and they're going to look really good. Now, again, we have this guy glued up. We're going to put his holster on. We're going to put his grenades on. We've got about 15 minutes left for this stream before I have to head off. Just because, again, I've not eaten all day and I have acting workshops tonight, so I have to make sure that I'm all prepared for that. So we're going to put on his grenades, which is B13. Yeah, that's right. I'd already started clipping it because I just looked at them and thought that'll be the same piece. Well, fine, Stephen. All right, Aaron. We do have about 15 minutes left, but just so you're aware, one of the biggest tips I've got, if you're getting the Terran set, is the front face of your miniature and the body of your miniature do not have to be glued together. This one requires a little bit of blue tack just to hold it in place, but literally you can have your miniature still built up but be able to remove the front face and have full access to like painting the head. So little tip for you. Hopefully that's something that you'll find useful. I'm just going to get his grenade on his leg now. Surprisingly tricky to do with the Tamiya extra thin. So we're actually going to swap over to the Citadel glue. Hey, Tally. My cat is shouting at me. So at 6 o'clock, it's also their tea time. So that's kind of important. Also, what a bizarre angle. The camera like tracks me around. So sent gold coin for 10 jewels. Sent gold coin for 10 jewels. I don't know what that means. Is that... I'm not sure what that means. I'm learning all of like the stuff from being monetized now as well. It's like, this is a strange difference. Just so you all know as well, I made YouTube Partner Program. Like they approved me within like 2 days. It was amazing. I'm really, really happy. Before you end the stream, can I see your Uriel Ventress miniature? Absolutely. I'll go grab him in a second. So again, different glues have different advantages. It's why when people give you advice, they tend to give you biased advice. Extra thin, really useful when you have two pieces that you can just press together and just tap it into the gap. This, for instance, the Citadel, but there's also other ones that have this more gel-like consistency. Really useful for when you've got a really finicky part that you can't just hold on to. You want to like literally tap it down and let go and it's there. So what we've done is applied a tiny bit of Citadel glue there. Hopefully you can all see that just in the light. And that's just going to hold in place. We can tap this on. It's going to do its job, glue it together. And again, this is when people give you, what's intended as good advice, which is like one product is the best product. It's all you'll ever need. It's not true. These all have different jobs. I'm sorry for going silent. I was playing a bit of Magic the Gathering Arena. Hope you had a good time. I was given by my local game store a Magic the Gathering starter set, which was a Marvel one. I've never played it, but it's something that I've not had the interest in. I've not played anything like card games since like Pokemon back in the day. But at some point when I have a bit of time, I'm actually going to go through and read the rules and see how it plays. My fiance will not play them with me. She thinks that I'm a sad, sad man for playing these games. I think she's wrong. I still love her though, but yeah, she doesn't quite give me that level of support. She won't play any games with me. Sad, I know. Congrats, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's been 8 months of lots and lots of hard work. And again, this isn't like I've made it, I've done it. This is just the start of the journey, really. But the idea is we're still 750 watch hours short of AdSense. And when we hit AdSense, that, again, it doesn't mean that magically I can quit all of my jobs and stuff like that. But it takes a bit of the pressure off. Just having a little bit more financial support. Because, again, this is obviously an expensive endeavor. Doing any wargaming hobby videos, there's great cost that comes to all of it. So having a bit of money back from that just makes my life a little bit easier. And it means as we grow as a channel, as more of you come and join us, it means that I can essentially take more time out of my schedule and spend it on this, whether it's live streams, whether it's, going all out for videos and having more time to be able to make those videos as good as they are. Again, talking about the Protoss 12-hour live stream, not 12-hour live stream, 12-hour painting challenge. If you go watch that video, that's a culmination of about 20 hours of work to make it. I just want to make good content. I want you guys to have good videos. And certainly with StarCraft, there are a few creators that sadly have moved away from actually producing any content for it. Sadly, also, Archon has stopped producing some really good content creators like your Glass Half Deads. Again, a channel perfectly suited to tell you all the intricacies of how the game works. Why stop supporting them? Anyway, that aside, I think we have... does she play any other games? The only game I've ever got her to play, and it was on the Xbox, was Lara Croft Tomb Raider. That's the only game she cares about. I've tried with other games that are similar. Or it's you got an adventure game here. We can play this. Or, there's a cat game that's like a stray cat and you just go wander around a city. And she's like, nah, it's stupid. I'm like, fair enough. She would rather watch 7-second videos on TikTok. I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. But for me, I like long-form storytelling, whether it's video games, whether it's books and stuff like that. That's kind of my jam. So, we've all got different tastes. Sent a party hat for 20 joules. I don't know what these are, George. Why am I calling you George? Jack. I thank you, I think. I don't know what this equates to, but interesting that these things can be done. A party hat and some gold coins. Cool. Actually, let me just see if it does the reaction thing, gives me fireworks. Let me see if I can turn that on. If I can turn that on, that's the best thing ever. Right, you ready for this? Hey, it did it. So that's some of the stuff that you can just do for Apple programming. It gave me 50 diamonds for free, so I'm using them up. Oh, nice. Cool. Well, I appreciate you. Any support that YouTube gives to you guys to give to me, then even better. Also, going forward, any of the videos that you go through, I can now get hypes on my video. So it just knocks me up the rankings a little bit more. So again, little things to expand the community, expand my reach a little bit more. I appreciate any of the support. A bit like Tali really appreciates the support because he's shouting at me again. I know, I'm not going to pick you up. Come on the windowsill. I got to show them you. Up you come. Good boy. Just patting his back. Right. Allow me to show you once again, Tali. Tali? Do you want to say hi to him? Wow. Good boy. There you go. He said hi. Good boy. Nice, we'll do that. Thank you very much. Like, honestly, I appreciate any support that anyone gives, but it's not, don't feel like you ever have to give anything. Like, I really appreciate you as well, just for, you know, helping support this channel directly. Again, if you want to like support me more long term as well, we do have YouTube memberships and we have our Patreon as well. Obviously, the Patreon's linked down below. It's the exact same, or I've tried to equate the prices because I have to translate from dollars into pounds. I think Patreon puts more my way versus YouTube memberships. But, you know, again, if you want to support the channel financially, I'm happy either way, as long as you know, are able to do that and it doesn't impact your life. Don't feel like you ever have to give anything to this channel. Again, we're working to a point where we can at least get AdSense, and that you watching and enjoying the videos is more than enough. Leaving a comment is brilliant. All that kind of stuff. I don't feel like you guys have to support me or anything like that. I'm going to keep doing me and it will work out in the end. So anyway, I'm going to be returning to my mini basics. I stopped it for a bit, but with my increased skills in editing, people still show an interest in that sort of content, and I plan to bring it back. Good. Again, you know, as long as you enjoy doing it, that's kind of what matters. And as long as then people like enjoy it too, that's a win-win. This year has very, very much so been me solidifying what I do on my channel and page. Yeah, and again, same with me. I've been hyper focused really on this YouTube stuff, which is great because I've had a great time. The jewels, from what I understand, does convert to actual money, but I hear it is more in cents. That's cool. Thanks for actually clarifying that as well. And Tali has just wandered off because he's been shouting at me for a little bit. Don't change the content to appease people. You do you, and your audience will find you. Exactly. Certainly for me, I like have a bit of a play around. Thank you for the Marine. For making it. He still technically, sorry, I almost dropped him then. He still technically needs his pistol holster. So we have 5 minutes to attach a pistol holster. And then I will have built one miniature on this stream. Again, like for me personally, I have way more fun and I enjoy this just chatting back and forth. And I hope that's kind of how you guys enjoy it as well. Again, like I could do this build stream. I mean, I don't have the access to be able to do it at the minute because I need like a stream deck with multicam support and stuff like that. But I could do the stream where I have a camera pointed at the miniatures and a camera pointed at me. I don't think that's the right way around. I think for these live chats, because I can create polished content, you know, I can create a video that is visually appeasing. That's the word I'm looking for. And, you know, it can be curated and done in a way that I think looks really good for you to be able to watch. Or I can do a live stream. And I think the whole point of this is that we actually have a chance to talk back and forth. I have way more fun doing this than doing like even the painting videos, because this gives me a chance to actually speak to you lot rather than the comment section is nice. But again, you know, it's a slower process. It's a slow back and forth. Whereas this is you ask me something and the next thing you know, I can answer it immediately. So now we have built, I lie, he's not built yet. He's not on his base. So we have a holster, and to put him on his base, where are the bases? Where is the rum? 32 mil. We've got some 32s and some 50 mils on this. So our Marauder, again, for those of you who have just come onto the stream as well, ta-da, we've been building some miniatures. This was not built on stream. This was built behind the scenes. And obviously I sprayed him up in black. He is going to be black with blue armor accents, a bit like what you see on the demonstration miniatures on the back of the box. We also have our medics. So we just get her better in shot. Again, like that shield, it doesn't quite show up quite right in camera, but you get this from the right angle. Light coming through that gives it like a real glow and a pop. I still don't quite see the sense where people paint that, because I think the whole point of these clear plastics is that they give such an amazing effect. Like these canisters, Let me just zoom in. These canisters here, they're designed to be painted. They're designed to be like a solid canister, not like a clear glass, but you could do it in that kind of way if you wanted to. So they're going to get painted, but then all of these like jets of healing shooting out. I mean, look at like the little crosses on them as well, literally sending good vibes your way. And even like the minerals and stuff like that on there. They're all really cool, although they're green. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be blue. I think you can get away with like the orange ones because I think that they're like the rich crystals in game. Like they're worth extra minerals. So we do have on Mr. Aaron. He has his minerals. He has his weapons, sort of like bits. Gonna head off and get lunch. Have a great rest of the stream. Thank you. We are coming up to a close now anyway because it's hitting 6 o'clock. I've got some work that I need to prep for with my acting workshop. And then I've got to feed my cats and stuff like that and feed myself as well. Sarah is not going to be until later, so I need to make sure that I actually eat before I go on to this workshop. So for the base, we've just put on some Citadel glue just because it's a little bit thicker. Although it doesn't seem to be going on the best. I'm actually just going to clip off a little bit more material on this other leg. Remember when we did the wrong leg and then had to get the other leg and then retrim it? I forgot to trim the base of it, so we're just going to do that very quickly. So again, just at a nice little angle, just shaving little bits of it off at a time, trying not to cut myself, and we'll just remove that plastic and dump that somewhere. Also, if you guys want to see a stream just for like terrain and stuff like that, I'm really wanting to show you guys how to build terrain, how to paint terrain. I've seen a lot of people prior to now talk about like gluing the terrain in place, and it is not designed to be glued in place. It's designed to be like modular, and you can adjust it and move it around and stuff like that. So I'd like to go through with that with people just so they can see, but also how to paint it. If you've not painted terrain before, it's kind of like how long's a piece of string? How much effort do you want to put into that terrain for it to be like, you know, the greatest terrain in the world and have every ounce of detail and every like little dot of moss on it? Or do you want that terrain to be more functional and you want to paint it quickly so you can get out of the way and start doing what you love, which is playing the game? So we'll go through all of that on a stream if you fancy. Again, what day are we on now? Saturday. Probably be looking at some point next week, maybe towards the middle of the week if we're going to do that. So here we have glued on our base. This is Marine B, which we called Billy. So we've got Billy the Marine. We've got Aaron the Marine. Also a good time to show you the difference between the primer as well versus the regular metallic plastic. So the primer that we have on is Macragge blue. The regular plastic is a metallic blue. Now, obviously, Marines in the game, I mean, Jimmy is supposed to be in black armor, but obviously it's reflective. So Jim Raynor shows off like a metallic style of armor. We're going to go for more flat colors just because I like the look of that a bit more. They're not going to be like Ultramarines. They're not going to be blue and gold. They are going to be their own unique style, and we're going to be concentrating on like battle damage. So I want their armor to look like it's existed and seen a few things. In fact, I want them to all look like they're very lucky to have escaped with their lives and that this war is like absolutely devastating for them. I kind of want them to look like the underdogs because, I mean, humanity is the underdogs. You've got like the ultimate weapon, which is the Zerg, versus like the ultimate species, which is the Protoss. And we're just in between firing Yamoto cannons at them, hoping for the best. So, yeah, I hope that you guys have actually enjoyed the stream. Thank you all for coming on. Thank you to, your name is so brilliant, the Banana Boy. Do you have a name that you want to share that isn't the Banana Boy? Just so I can be a little bit more like personal, but thank you to all of you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for sticking to the stream. I hope it's been enjoyable. And yeah, I will catch you all in the next video, which is going to be, I think it's 3 ways to paint your Terran Marines. That's fine. Yeah, don't worry then. I understand. Anonymity is a rare gift in this day and age. So yeah, thank you again. Glad you enjoyed the stream. Aaron, feel free to watch it again from the beginning if you've obviously missed about an hour and a quarter-ish. So yeah, I keep saying goodbye, but just because I enjoy your company. All right, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.